But you did get married in 2023.
Yes.
So I just want to talk to you about your husband. Can you tell us the story of how you guys met?
This is my favorite story to tell. So when I was a freshman in high school, I had been to some like church dances, and I had met this guy, and he was friends with my now husband. My husband's name is Tanner. I met this other guy, Tanner's friend, and apparently Tanner's friend really liked me, and I didn't feel the same way. So Tanner, being the amazing friend that he is, got all these other boys that were in their little friend group to ask one of my friends where my address is so that they could come and TP my house. Bad decision asking my friend, because my friend told me that when they were going to do that.
Yeah.
So I told my brothers, and my brothers were like out there with like paintball guns, like waiting for
You're kidding.
all these like teenagers to come. Yeah. I think I was like 14, so that would make my husband like 15 or 16. My brothers are out there waiting. They end up showing up, and my brothers like shoot them with paintball guns. So then they leave, and I'm like, okay, crisis averted. Like, these kids are not coming back. And then I think like a week later, me and my family were all out like in our backyard, like doing a bonfire or something. And we heard this like loud like bang. And we were like, oh my gosh, like what was that? Then our neighbor calls us, and I live out in the country. So like there's no street lights. Everyone lives down like very long driveways. Like it's very like country-esque. So our neighbor calls us, and she's like, did you guys hear that? And we were like, yeah, what the heck? So my dad like grabs his keys and goes to like get in his truck. And as he's like walking out like to get into his truck, there's like glitter and like ketchup like all over our driveway. And my dad is like, what the heck? And then he looks up, and there's like toilet paper like all over the trees, like all over our gate, like just on the ground everywhere. And my dad is like, oh my gosh, like
Crisis not averted.
Boys came back. They came back. So he hops in his car, and he starts driving down the street to like chase these kids. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think they were going to come back. Like, oh, this is all my fault, whatever. My dad is driving, and he drives past all the mailboxes for the whole street. And the like all they're not like normal, just like a one mailbox. It's like mailboxes that my great grandpa built. So they're like big, huge, like wooden posts with like a box on top, and another like wooden post with like a box, right? And my dad drives past them, and they are completely destroyed. Like all of the mailboxes leveled.
Was he so mad?
The gate. Well, my dad was confused. He was like, what the heck happened here? Yeah. The fence, like our neighbor's fence that was like right behind the mailboxes is like destroyed. Like all the mud is everywhere. He was like, okay, that's weird. So my dad drives down to the end of the road, and that's where Tanner and his brother are parked. And my dad gets out, and he's like yelling at them. He's like, you're going to come back and clean up my house, blah, 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 blah. And they're like, these two like kids. They were like, okay, like, sorry, sir. Like, yeah, that was us. We didn't like, sorry, like, we'll come back and clean it. And then my dad noticed, like, so they get in their cars, and they're like driving back. My dad notices that their car is like not like driving. Like their bumper is like dragging on the floor. So he is like, and that's when he drives back past the mailboxes, and he realizes, oh my gosh, this kid crashed his car into the mailboxes. So me and all my siblings are like waiting to like see what happens. My dad comes back. Sorry. My dad comes back. These kids like pull in behind him, and I like recognize them. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's Tanner. That's that kid that like, whatever. So my dad like calls the cops. A bunch of like Tanner's parents come. I have to like, this is my first interaction with him. I'm bringing him a broomstick and garbage bags. And I'm like,
to help clean up.
Literally in my nightgown. I'm like, here you go.
So, little did you know he was going to become your husband.
Yeah. So after that whole interaction, my husband, Tanner, he ended up having to come back to our house to fix the mailboxes for like a week. It literally for the next like week, I would drive past him every single day, or My mom would drive me because I was 14. He would have to come back and like he was always fixing the mailboxes. And I was like, oh, that poor kid. And then fast forward, I think that was my freshman year. Fast forward, I'm a senior. It's like the summer before I moved to college. I already know I'm moving to BYU. I'm like at the gym one day, and my best friend at the time comes up to me and she's like, Mackenzie, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, okay, what is it? She's like, I'm dating the boy that crashed into your mailbox. I'm dating his friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she was like, I'm dating his friend. And I was like, okay, like that's kind of random. Like, why are you telling me this? She was like, well, I'm telling you because the boy that crashed into your mailbox, Tanner, he sees you at the gym every day and he thinks you're so cute. And I'm like, oh,
that guy.
Mailbox boy thinks I'm cute.
Mailbox boy. Oh,
that's literally what we called him. We were like, oh, mailbox boy. Like, that's so funny. And I was like, oh, I've never like seen him at the gym. Like, that's so interesting. Whatever. So I was like, I would need to like see him. Like, I don't know like what he looks like now. Like, we don't follow each other on Instagram. Like, whatever. The next day, I'm like on the treadmill. Tanner and his little friend walk right past me in front of my treadmill. And I'm like, okay, that was intentional. But I saw him and I was like, wait a minute. He's
mailbox boy's
kind
of
of cute. I was like, wait, he had a glow up. Huh. Maybe I'll hit up my friend. So I texted her and I was like, hey, saw Tanner at the gym today. He's cute. We should plan a time to hang out. So, my friend ended up taking me to their like YSA word that they went to like that Sunday. And that was like our first time hanging out. And then after that, we ended up going on 2 more dates before I moved to Utah. We went to like the lake one day and then we like saw a movie or like got dinner. And I remember the whole time thinking, does this kid even like me? Like he's like kind of quiet and like shy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm scared. Like, does this kid even like me? He also didn't kiss me. Over the span of like 3 different dates, I was like, if this kid liked me, he would have kissed me by now. Yeah. But then he's so slick. He left his chapstick in my car like the day before I left to go to Utah. Mm-hmm. And then he texted me and he was like, oh, we'll just have to hang out in Utah like so that I can get it back. And so that was in August of 2022. And then we both moved to Utah and we just both like got kind of busy. We were just kind of like, he lived in Orem and I lived in Provo and I lived like on campus. So it was just kind of like far. Like we just didn't see each other. We texted a little bit, didn't see each other. And then end of November of 2022, I ended up like reaching back out to him. And I was like, hey, we should hang out. Because I saw a picture of him and I was like, I forgot like how cute this kid is. So I texted him and I was like, we should hang out. And then literally from then on, we hung out like every single night.
I love it.
And then I love him. He's the greatest.
I love it. How has he supported you throughout your swimming journey? Because you've been married for over a year now and swimming is so demanding, especially in college, and you're probably away from each other a lot. But how has he helped support you through this?
Yeah. So, I remember right when we started dating, I was like going through a really hard time with swim and being away from my family and like it was really hard. And then once we did start like dating, it was like kind of like a light at the end of the tunnel. Mm-hmm. He kind of just pulled me out of like this like kind of hard space that I was in. And he was like, I am going to support you no matter what. Like, I'm always here for you. And then I remember when he met my parents were like, Mackenzie is very busy. Like, she's a swimmer. She's like super busy. Like, are you going to be okay with that? And he was like, yes. Like, I want her to keep swimming. I want her to like fulfill her dreams. Like, I'm happy for her. I'm excited for her. And I kind of knew that at that point, I was like, this is going to be good. And the thing with me and Tanner is we're both the oldest siblings in our family. So we're both like pretty independent. I'm a lot less independent now that we're married. but we were both like pretty independent. So it was like just like perfect. He was able to really reassure me to be like, Mackenzie, like, it's okay that you have to go to these meets. It's okay. Like, I want you to do better. I want you to train hard. Like, I'm going to be here for you. And what makes me feel better when I go to meets is that he gets to like hang out with his friends.
Aww.
So I'm like, okay, this is good. Like,
we both have something to do.
Yes, we both have something to do. It's not like one of us is just sitting at home. And he comes to every single home meet that he can. Some other ways that he like just helps me so much is if I get home late from like a practice, because we live kind of far, so I get like stuck in traffic. If I get home late, he'll like make me food. He will really try and encourage me to like eat my protein and like go to bed early. And it's honestly been amazing, like, since we've been married, because I mean, before we got married, it was like I'm staying up all late because I'm hanging out with him. Then we get married and it's like, let's go to bed at 8:30.
I love it. I love it.
He's the best.